Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Educ8, Codec's low-code accelerator for higher education. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to be providing you with a short overview of Codec, who we are and what we do, followed by an introduction to our vision and methodology behind Educ8. And then for the main event, we will be demonstrating some of the core features and functionality, including Find Your Prospect, knowing and understanding your prospect, how you progress a prospect to an application, how you can retain, nurture, and convert applicants, and finally, how you can deliver a connected student experience with Educ8. We will finish up with a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to drop any questions that you have into the chat as we go along, and we'll answer them for you after the demo. So just kicking off with some introductions. My name is Steph Conville and I am the Education Lead for Codec, and I'm currently working with a number of universities such as Queen's University Belfast, Ulster University, Exeter University, and most recently Liverpool John Muir. I'd also like to introduce you to Brian Ireland, who is our UK Technology Delivery Director and who has over 20 years experience supporting customers on their digital transformation journey. And last but by no means least, I'd like to introduce you to Christina Mateer, who is our UK Practice Lead for Business Change and Design and our all-round education specialist, and who has helped a number of universities design a number of systems and processes for universities across the UK and Ireland. So kicking off with a snapshot of Codec, who we are and what we do. Codec is one of the largest independent Microsoft partners in the UK and Ireland, and we have been delivering services across the full Microsoft stack for over 40 years. With offices in London, Belfast and Dublin, we have over 300 staff across business change and design, service delivery and support. We also have over 200 valued customers, and we pride ourselves in our ability to deliver for our customers, which is evident in our Net Promoter Score, which you can see there at 65, which is significantly higher than the industry average. We are proud to be a Microsoft partner and have received over 11 Dynamics 365 Partner of the Year's awards, and as well as the most prestigious Microsoft Country Partner of the Year award. So that's just a quick introduction to Codec. If you have any questions in terms of any other services that we can offer you, be that across Dynamics, Azure, security, hosting, etc., please feel free to put them in the chat and I can contact you after the demo. But now I'd like to hand you over to Brian Ireland, who will give you a short introduction to Educ8.
Thank you very much, Steph. Thanks everyone for attending today. I'm just going to spend a few minutes to explain a little bit of the background to Educ8 and some of the rationale that we have for Educator as a I suppose a methodology and accelerator that we believe can help universities in the UK and Ireland. So, brief slide to explain four sort of pillars of why Educ8 exists. I suppose when we've been working with universities probably for around the last 10 years in a variety of different guises, and as we've worked with them, we have seen commonalities across lots and lots of different universities, but you know what, actually a lot of differences too. But I suppose fundamentally the nature of the processes that universities are delivering are similar, but a lot of the estate and the architecture, so with some of these universities, is different. So some universities might have different student record systems, or different elements that needed to be integrated with. Okay, but what Educ8 is an attempt to take the things that we know are similar between universities and allow universities to build, tweak and amend with our experience and our best practice in doing so. So the first pillar, I feel like, is a curated generic entity model. So the reason behind this is to ensure that there are standard structures that get you started quickly. You might say, well, there are already education accelerators that do this. So there's the example, there's a Microsoft education accelerator that is open source. However, that is, I guess, in our experience, that isn't aligned necessarily to a lot of what UK and Ireland universities want to do. The second pillar is co-development and community-based roadmap. So again, we've learned a lot over the last 10 years looking at the processes that different universities have completed, and we've seen some universities create processes that could be used in other universities. So we want to be a bit of a conduit to enable collaboration and sharing between universities. And again, the third pillar is shared artifacts within the university. So as part of our Educ8 offering, we have developed a set of our artifacts, which are anything from best practices, working practices, or installation and configuration manuals that we have available that will show you and show us how to configure our products. And finally, the fourth pillar is the source available modules. So we've had a lot of feedback from universities who use more proprietary systems, and some of the feedback that they have had is that the systems is that locks them into a particular technology. Our goal is not to lock you into a particular vendor. So source available means that you have full control of source artifacts such as unmanaged solutions and source code. Okay. So how does this work in practice? For any technical people who may be on the call, this is a rough slide that explains the process by which you can build with a source available model. So on the left hand side, we can see here that we will maintain our core Educ8 product, which contains generic entity models, which we would have taken the best bits from the Microsoft model, and we will maintain a core release on the left hand side, and we will provide universities with that core entity model that, again, from a full source perspective, is available on the right hand side here. So that resides within your tenant where you have full control. So this is a typical example of the types of components that are contained within it. And again, some of the services that we would provide in order to help you best use that model. So that we know that universities need a rigorous release process. And I suppose you will still have control of that. And again, part of the boxes at the bottom here is to show that via a collaboration and sharing forum is that these entity models can be contributed back to core, so the cycle continues. Yeah. And yeah, look, that's basically it for me. If I can hand you over to Christina, she will take you through some of the functional elements of the solution. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian. So if it's okay, Steph, I'm going to take control of the screen and just share mine.
Thanks,
perfect. And thank you all for joining. I'm personally super excited to be able to talk to you all about Educ8. And for anybody that knows me, higher education is one of the things that I could just talk about forever and a day, but I'm conscious that I only have a finite amount of time here. So for the demo today, I've picked the things that I think are exciting, and I think the things that will be, I suppose, they're important to universities. It's all about that student experience and making sure that it's a consistent experience, making sure that it's user friendly, but also considering some of the pain points that I know from working with universities and from carrying out user research as well to understand the current pain points that we have out there and how our Educ8 solution can help to overcome those. So from a presentation perspective, I'm going to flip between a couple of different applications. So I've shared my screen there, and you can see that my slide deck is probably a little bit smaller than what we've seen on Steph's screen there. But that's just because I want to be able to flick between the different applications that I need to share. So in order to tell a story, I'm going to introduce you to some people within the journey, and you'll get to know that that's a part of our accelerator as well. It's not just a product. As Brian mentioned, it's a methodology as well, and part of that methodology is utilising a suite of predefined personas that fit the higher education sector. And I'm going to use personas to be able to tell a story, to demo some elements of our product. Of course, I won't cover it all today because we just don't have time, but follow-up sessions obviously can be arranged to be able to cover things in a bit more detail. I think we're going to leave the questions until the end, so I'm going to go through the demo for today, but please do let us know at the end if there's any questions or anything we would like to revisit. So as Steph mentioned in the agenda, I've broken it down into 5 parts, and you can see the title here on each one of the demo parts. And the first part that we're going to look at is finding your prospect. So I'm going to navigate to my second slide here, and this is the first of the personas that we're going to meet today, and this is Yang. So Yang is she currently lives in China. She's the eldest of 3 siblings, and she wants to study biology. She's excited about the prospect of studying in the UK. She's apprehensive about leaving her family, and she's worried about potentially not being able to make friends when she relocates because she's the eldest of the 3 siblings. Nobody in her family has done this before, but she's super excited to be the first one to go. So in our journey, she has visited Educ8 University at an open day in Shanghai, and she's super excited about potentially studying at Educ8 University, but she needs to know a little bit more, and she's potentially thinking about the idea of using an agent to help her on her application journey because, again, she's not done it before, and she's the first in her family to go to the UK to study. We can see that her tech proficiency here, she's a 4 out of 5, so she's pretty savvy when it comes to tech. We can see her socials there, and we can see Unibuddy. So she's already connected with some people utilising the Unibuddy app. And she utilises the likes of emails, social posts. She loves going to recruitment fairs, and she's potentially thinking about the partner and agent avenue. So if we come back to thinking about the start of Yang's journey, she's visited the recruitment fair, and the first touch on the product that I'm going to introduce you to is that you can see on the right hand side here we've got a form that has been available at the recruitment fair. So Yang has visited a stall. She's been able to leverage the QR code here, and you can see that set up with her Educ8 logo. And then that brings her to a digital form whereby she can provide her information, denoting and consenting that Educ8 University can contact her in the future. And this is where I'm going to start to talk about the different contact types that we have within our solution, because we know at the minute a pain point within universities is that they've got lots of people records potentially in different systems. But what Educ8 does is it brings that consistent experience for the people, be it a lead, be it an applicant, be it an existing student, be it alumni, all those different types of people. It brings it together under one umbrella, so we get that connected experience. And the product that I'm going to move on to show you now is that of our real-time journeys leveraging D365 customer insights. So in the old world, I think this was called outbound marketing. It was just D365 for marketing, but we now have a richer platform with D365 customer insights, which brings a lot more functionality and has removed the need for a lot of, I suppose, custom things that have had to be done in the future. They're now native and out of the box. So I'm going to navigate to my solution and show you some things that we're leveraging in Yang's journey, but just to sort of give you a little bit of an overview of what Customer Insights is. And I'm just going to navigate into my environment now. So you can see here that I'm in my Customer Insights instance here, and the first part of the Customer Insights product that I'm going to show you is that of a journey, and I'm going to explain in a lot more detail why this is relevant. But if I navigate to one that I've already set up, my Educ8 demo journeys, and I'm going to go to the recruitment fair that Yang has visited. Just navigating in here, this gives us a nice visual journey. And I must mention as well that this is an end user tool. This isn't something that your IT team needs to configure for you or your implementation partner. This is an end user tool that it may be a centralized marketing team. You may devolve your marketing out into faculties or schools. This is a tool, a no-code tool that all of your end users can use and configure. I know at the minute in universities, Gecko forms are probably quite highly used, and Customer Insights has those capabilities in a very user-friendly way, and I'm going to again show you a little bit more of that. But it's just that universities at the minute seem to have lots of different tools to be able to fulfill the needs of Customer Insights, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. So what we're looking at here is, I suppose, a logical journey, whereby at the start of the journey, we're leveraging that form that we just saw in the slide deck. So this is the form that was available via the QR code. And basically what we're doing in the target audience is grouping people that have submitted that form at that recruitment fair, and we're putting them into what's called a segment. We're creating a bucket of people whereby we're going to send out this targeted communication for. So I'm not going to go into every element of this actual journey itself, but I'm just showing you that this is the start of our sort of cradle to grave experience with Yang as a prospective student. She's consented that we can send her communications. She's become part of this targeted segment. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to send her a follow-up email to say, it was really lovely to see you at the recruitment fair. So what I've done is I have just set up a mailbox for Yang. And I just wanted to show you that we've got this, the email that we've received because she's been part of that segment. And pretty much what we're saying, as I said, it was really lovely to see you. We'd love to know more about how we can help. And what we're doing is we're signposting Yang to her best next steps. So we're saying, if you've got any inquiries, you can leverage this inquiry form, or if you're ready to apply, then you can navigate to the applicants portal. And that's the first part that I want to talk about, I suppose the modular and malleable nature of Educ8, in that you can use this with your existing forms. If you have existing web forms out there, if you have an existing portal out there, or if you either don't have that or you're ready to rip and replace, we also have a portal that sits on top of our solution that you can use as an entry point. But I guess it's not one size fits all. We can work with whatever your I suppose your needs are, or whatever you already have. This can either be connected to your existing forms, or it could be a portal, or it could be a new portal. For the purposes of demo, I wanted to show you working with an existing portal, or an existing web form. So I've just lifted some web forms that I've found online, and this is whereby Yang could use just existing forms that a university has out there. And what she's going to do is she is actually going to submit an inquiry to the university, because if you remember back to who Yang is, she was thinking of using an agent for her application, but she wasn't really quite sure on that process or who she might want to use. So what she's done is she has used the prospective student inquiry form, and she's created an inquiry, and she has submitted it to Educ8 University. And then what we want to be able to do is bring that into our Educ8 instance and be able to start that, I suppose, the interaction with Yang. So what I'm going to do is I have another window open here for my student services, but this is in the same environment, the same set of data. So at the minute we have a one contact instance for Yang. So navigating into my admissions area of our solution, we can see that in here on the sitemap on the left hand side, I've got a table called my service requests, and I've just created filtered list views just for the ease of use in my demo here. And we can see that this is filtered to my Educ8 admissions inquiry. And what I have here is that inquiry that Yang submitted. So as I said, the entry points, there's various different entry points that we can have, but ultimately the important thing is to get the service request into our one connected experience of data, so that we can build up that profile of who Yang is, rather than having lots of different Yang records out there in different systems. One thing to note here is that we've denoted a priority on this service request, and if I navigate into the record, I want to talk a little bit more about that prioritization. So just navigating down to the bottom of the record, we can see here that there is some using AI to be able to analyze the sentiment of the natural language in here and pull out, I suppose, some indicators as to how urgent or how severe we think that this service request is. Because we know as universities, they're inundated with requests, emails, phone calls, lots of those things. And without sort of using any sort of a logical prioritization or without using AI, it takes a human to have to go through and to be able to allocate workload and make sure that the most urgent things are being dealt with first. Whereas if we use like AI to be able to do that, at least it's an indicator and it helps us prioritize based on the category, based on the queues. It helps us prioritize those requests that should be dealt with first. So in this scenario, the RAI has output this as a priority level 3. So it's not a 1, it's not super urgent, it's not a 5, it's something that should be dealt with, I suppose, quite quickly. But you can see that the prioritization level and the detail has been provided below. So I just wanted to call out that that's something that's quite, I suppose, very, we've found in the past been very useful, and it helps people allocate their workload. So let's have a look and see what Yang has said. So what we're seeing up at the top here is what's called a business process flow. And we use this quite a lot throughout our solution, but this allows us to prescribe, I suppose, a way in which things should be processed. And what that does is it sort of mitigates the need for heavy SOPs and heavy documentation as to how people in the university should perform certain tasks. It also allows us to have elements of SLA tracking and to be able to understand how long things took to happen. So how long did the overall process take? How long did it take at each one of these stages? It helps universities identify potential bottlenecks with staffing issues, or maybe a process is a little too clunky and it needs refinement. Business process flows are really good to be able to help us with that guided process and to be able to help us understand the retrospective analytics as well. So within this request, we can see it's got its unique identifier. We can see that it's been categorized as a prospective student, and it's an international student. So again, that helps us with our queuing. That helps us with our, I suppose, our analytics as well, to understand how many of each type of query we're getting so that we can make sure that we staff those teams effectively. We know that it's Yang that has submitted the request because we already met her at the recruitment fair. We know who she is as a potential applicant. Got submitted information here. We've got some information about Yang herself. And then if we navigate down to the overview of the request, this is where she submitted her request with her natural language. And then looking at the right here on our activity timeline, again, we're using elements of AI to provide an overview of what's the history of Yang so far. So at a glance, we can see that she, at the recruitment fair, she expressed excitement about studying at Educ8, but she has concerns around her relocation and is potentially going to use an agent for assistance. And if we look at what she's actually asked, she said that she's visited the recruitment fair, spoke to Christina, she's worried about relocation, but what she wants to do is to ask for some advice with regards to the agent and potentially which agent she might want to use. And then I've some bits that I've prepared earlier in here, and what I've done is I've actually responded to Yang within this record itself. So in the real world, this would come into the correct team in the university. They would review the service request, and depending on the entry point of the service request, they're going to respond to Yang. And if I look into the request detail here, we can see here that, again, this is what I've just done earlier, and I've responded to Yang, and I've provided her with a list of known agents to the university that we trust and we're happy for her to work with. Conscious of time of digging into these different tables, but the agencies, that's part of our core solution. We have a table for our agents because we know that's heavily utilised within the UK and Ireland, especially with our international cohort. But this is where you have the opportunity to store the list of known agents. If I just navigate in there actually, and we have this split out by country, and then I can navigate to my country as China. And you can see that it's given me a list of the agents that are known to the university in China. And that then is how I have responded to Yang. Okay. And because that's appeared in the activity timeline, we can see that Educ8 provided a list of trusted education partners in China to support the student's academic journey. So again, it's at a glance giving us an overview of who Yang is and what's been her interaction so far with the university, rather than having this on spreadsheets or in different third-party tools that manage our events and our recruitment fairs and things like that. It gets us to understand who our prospective students are and to be able to nurture them more importantly, because I suppose I understand how competitive that international market is now, and our international students won't just be applying to one university, they may be applying to lots of universities, and we as the universities, we need to make sure that we're keeping those prospects warm and doing everything that we can to be able to nurture and grow that relationship that we have there. So we are going to come back on to your service request a little bit more, but again, I'm just sort of trying to show you the find your prospect, get to know your prospect, and then hopefully converting that prospect into an applicant. So let's have a look at what that might look like now. So I'm just going to, I think that the slides potentially will be shared after this. I'm just using my slides as a journey to go through to make sure that I've covered everything off. I kind of touched a little bit on the contact types. So we're with Yang, she's still a lead at the minute. She's still a prospect because she's not done anything more. She's not yet become an applicant. She's not yet become a student, and she's certainly not yet become an alumni. But our single record as a contact, we've got the ability to denote which type of contact that person is, and that helps us again segment and then provide our targeted communications and our targeted marketing to make sure that we're not sending people things that aren't relevant to them, and therefore we have a lesser adoption rate or a lesser click-through rate with the emails that or the communications that we're sending them. So we talked a little bit there about the service request that Yang had submitted. This is in section 2, which is know your prospect. As I said, it's just getting to understand who they are and to be able to nurture that relationship. So we've responded to the service request there. And then I've just got this slide to denote that some time has passed whilst Yang selects her agent. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start her off on her application journey. So I'm going to switch over to show you the application module of our Educ8 product. And again, this is similar in that you've not got to have our applicant portal to be able to utilize this service. It is something that can be added to it, but if you have an existing application portal, or I know some universities just use a simple form at the minute as well. We have universities that use this solely for postgrad. We have universities that use this for undergrad, postgrad. I know our home students go through UCAS, so that's not of relevance to what we're chatting about now. But again, multiple entry points doesn't have to be our portal. If you've got something already out there, we just need to figure out how to integrate with that and to be able to process it through our solution, which I'm going to come to show you. Another thing to note is that I know that at the minute there's probably a lot of universities that would process their applications through their student information system, and those are really powerful engines, and they're really good at what they do. But we have found that the interface is maybe sometimes a little clunky. We've never found a desire to rip and replace that, so we know that we've got to work with that. And what our product does is it gives you a nice looking glass that sits on top of it and gives you sort of a user-friendly and malleable experience. But we know we've got to integrate both ways with that consistently, because it remains to be the source of the truth. That's where we've got our setup of our faculties, our schools, our programs, our courses, our modules, all of that heavy lifting. We know that may still continue to live and be controlled within your student information system. The same thing with the applications. We know that there's other things that go on in there, such as your UCAS data, the count of places that you have per course, all of that information. We know we need to be able to interact with that. So it's not to say that this rips and replaces. It's to say that we know that we need to be able to integrate with that tool as well. This is a nice quote that I got from one of our existing customers. I think he is on the call, so we might know who he is when he sees this. But finding your prospect is one thing, but retaining them is another. So now it's not enough to just go and find that first touch point at a recruitment fair or through a marketing campaign. You've got to make sure that you nurture that and then hopefully convert that prospect into an applicant and into a matriculated student. So I just thought that was something that was nice came from, I suppose, boots on the ground, that is a real pain point, something that we've really got to focus on as universities for now. I talked a little bit there about segmentation. So segmentation is part of our customer insights product, whereby you've got the ability to group like contacts or like leads. So it could be based on the area of study that they want to undertake, or thinking about existing students. It may be students that are already studying something. If the data exists, you can use that to be able to segment, be it based on school. There's lots of different things, lots of different ways that you can segment your existing leads or contacts. But again, it's just so that you can provide targeted marketing and not just a catch-all and hope that somebody bites. It needs to be really targeted marketing that's important to, and I suppose personal to the people that you're sending it to. So let me move on to the prospect becoming an applicant. So we talked about Yang. She went to the recruitment fair. We reached out to say it was lovely to see you. We provided her with the opportunity to submit an inquiry, which she did. We responded to the inquiry, and now she's got her answer. She's used her agent, and now she's going to go on the application journey. This is where we start to look at our portal for the first time. But as I said, you don't have to have our portal to be able to utilize the Educ8 product. But I am going to show you a very light touch our portal. Let me just navigate back in here. And you can see here, top right, I'm logged in as Yang. And what we do with this is we use web roles to be able to control the services for which each one of our portal users can avail of. So for the purposes of demo, I've given Yang everything here just because I didn't want to have to flick between a lot of users. But I mean, based on the needs, this is whereby we can have a web role for a prospective student. We can have them for an existing student. This could be for external staff as well, like a visiting lecturer, visiting professor. There's loads of different ways that you can use this, and we're using a Power Pages application here. And what we've done is we've went with the low code, no code approach on here so that it can be configured to meet university's needs. And I guess most importantly is that we can use your existing brand pack and align that and bring that into our portal and style it so that it's a seamless experience for your existing users or for anybody that's visiting your website. Whenever they go to navigate to the portal, we want to make sure that's as seamless as possible. So that's as well what we can do with the Power Pages application. So in the context of Yang again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to our UG applications here. And I guess the styling on this is quite simple because we know that we'll need to style it in line with your brand needs and your brand guideline and your house style and things like that. But it's just to show conceptually. And I guess we have a vanilla next, finish, submit experience here, whereby we can use the information that lives within your student information system to show Yang the available courses. We'll define any entry criteria that she has to meet. We give her the opportunity to upload her documents to prove her qualifications, submit referees, all of that good stuff. We're using our portal to be able to, it's a vehicle really for whereby Yang can submit her undergrad application. This is one that I created earlier, and I'm not going to go through each one of these screen by screen, but it's just to show you anybody that has experience with Power Pages. It's just a next, finish sort of style application, and whereby we can submit that detail, and then that becomes an application within our our model-driven app in the back end here. Okay. So Yang has progressed her application with her agent, and now we have it in our Educ8 solution. And again, it's connected to that person that was Yang from the first touch, right through to her converting from an unqualified lead. She has now become an applicant. And we sort of have some generic stages up at the top here for the way in which an application should be processed. And the good thing about the application process is that I suppose there's the Competition and Market Authority that says that universities must adhere to the fair and consistent experience when it comes to applications and processing those applications. And as I said, making sure that that prospective student has a fair and consistent approach when it comes to the application process. But what we would do is take your policy documents or take any I suppose ways of working around your existing application process, and we do a bit of a fit gap and a bit of a more so a gap to go, a configuration analysis piece to see what needs changed or what needs tweaked. But I guess the key things on here are the ability to select the relevant course for the admissions officers to be able to allocate the conditions that may be required as part of this application. All of that sort of good stuff, we're capturing that in a one-stop shop and constantly integrating with your student information system to make sure that when an application is received through this interface or an existing interface that you have, we make sure that it tells your student information system to say, this application has come in, look to see does this person already exist, and if they don't exist, then create a unique ID for them. If they do exist, associate this application with them. Then we'll come back onto this interface and we'll assess the application, we'll triage the quality of it, we'll check the documents, do all of that good stuff. And then our admissions officers would be able to make a decision on that, apply the conditions, tell the student information system that they've applied conditions and made an offer to the student, send it back to the student. We wait for them to prove their conditions. The conditions come back in, we check them. Once more, we tell the student information system that that's gone from a conditional to an unconditional, send it back out to the student and wait for them to hopefully accept the offer. And if they accept the offer, we tell the student information system to say that that offer has been accepted. So you can see that we know that it's not a tell it once and then tell it at the end. We know that there's a need to be able to integrate through as we go throughout that process. Again, in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through all of the screens that we have here. But like as I talked about, the ability to add offer conditions, we've found, I suppose, through our extensive research, we've come up with a bank of conditions that we know to be common across universities in UK and Ireland. It's not going to be exhaustive because I know each university may apply their own conditions. And our solution also offers the ability to add I suppose, a custom condition as well for those onesie twosie scenarios whereby you need to add that. We also have in here funding opportunities. So we have tables that would allow for scholarship capture, and if there was any partner discounts, all of that good stuff, that's part of our core entity structure as well. So I guess we tried to, as Brian has said there, we've sort of tried to pick the best from everything, and we know that there'll be a configuration element for it to meet each university's needs. But with the admissions process, because it is a sort of structured process, there's not that much of a gap to go, I would guess. Another part of our solution within the Educ8, or the admissions piece of it, is that we have the ability to generate offer letters as well. And that's something that we issue back out depending on the entry point of the application. We send the offer letters, we generate those from within our solution. I know at the minute a lot of student information systems would generate those letters, but again, from user research, I've found that those are a little bit clunky and potentially not that easy to change if things need to be changed, whereas our product is, again, an end user tool that allows for configuration on those letter templates. I'm just conscious on time. I'm going to flick back into my presentation, and there's a few, I think a persona I didn't really get time to introduce you to was Josie Taylor, who's our Educ8 staff member, and she's a senior admissions officer. She's the one that would be utilising the application that we've just seen to be able to process Yang's application. And within the model-driven app, I was just sort of talking about the guided process, the SLA capabilities, and it's a modern and dynamic offer letters and rich reporting capabilities. So the reporting capabilities, what we've done here is we've just embedded a Power BI report to be able to show historical application analysis. So there's the day-to-day processing of applications, but I suppose it's really important for us to be able to understand historically where applications have come from, so that we can put the right boots on the ground in the right place with regards to recruitment fairs, for example. If we know that there's a high volume coming from China in this scenario, then we know it's worth investing in recruitment fairs and things like that in that space. So we can I just sort of wanted to show that we can embed our rich reporting within our model-driven app as well. One of the things that I wanted to touch on as well is, like I've talked about, the next part of the demo is the retain, the nurture, and convert. So I talked about retaining the prospect and retaining the applicant. So one of the things is that I've heard most recently is the time that it takes for universities to be able to make a decision or even just respond to an application. And sometimes students just don't know what's going on with their application. So probably more prevalent whereby you're using a fire and forget form rather than a portal whereby they can check up on their status. But one of the emails that I've configured as part of Yang's journey, so she's been segmented in that she's an applicant and she hasn't yet got a decision on her application. So she's formed part of that cohort. And in doing so, she's received this email. And it pretty much just says, if I show you it in her mailbox, it pretty much just says that we've got it. So we're keeping her warm. She knows that it's been submitted and she knows that we're working on it. But what we're also doing, again, is using AI with logic-based conditions to predict a level of a likelihood as to how likely she is to be able to be offered a place. So similar to if you're applying for, I don't know, like a credit card or a loan or whatever, there's times whereby you'll say that you're quite likely to be pre-approved or you're quite likely to be approved. In that segment and utilising that type of logic-based approach, I've been able to say that in this email. So based on the information you've provided so far, it's quite likely that we'll be able to offer you a place, but this will be verified by our specialist recruitment officer shortly. So we're keeping it warm. She knows that we've got it. It's looking quite likely, but we're also covering ourselves to say that it will be verified and we'll come back to her in due course. So that's that, keeping it warm. I've also popped in another piece of the journey here to say, wait for a period of time. And if Yang still hasn't provided a decision on her application, we're going to give her a little nudge and try to figure out why, or try to encourage her to make a decision on her application. So see here, still unsure if Educ8 is right for you, and she's yet to make a decision, and we're offering the opportunity to reach out and get some help. So again, could be utilising an existing form. It could be setting up a call with one of our admissions officers. There's many things that this could be, but it's just to try and encourage and keep her warm and try and encourage her to make a decision. And then ultimately, if she goes ahead to actually accept the offer, then we're welcoming her to Educ8. Exciting opportunities ahead. We're directing her to the student life page, because if you remember, one of the things that Yang was concerned about was relocation and being able to make friends. So this could be where you signpost her to your activities and clubs, or existing artifacts that you have on your website about the relocation process. This is, again, targeted messaging specifically for Yang to get her to be comfortable and you know, accept her offer and be comfortable coming over to the UK for her place in Educ8 University. And with all of these, with our customer insights, like we can track the click-through rates on these. We can check the time that it took her to, I guess, open the email, or which links did she actually click on, how many times did she actually click on them. Like we get that sort of rich analysis using our customer insights product and using this particular journey, coming back to the whole cradle to grave experience. It gives us all of those insights. And then equally, if Yang rejected her offer, we would love to understand why. So Educ8's not right for Yang right now. We're sad to see her go, but we're seeking her feedback to understand what was the reasons for her not accepting her offer, so that we can hopefully improve our student experience and our conversion rate then in the future. So everything that I'm showing in these emails is leveraging that journey that we looked at the start. Everything that I was showing in the admissions piece and submitting the offer letter and things like that, that's done within the admissions application and with the admissions team. Whereas this predefined journey is, you can kind of set it up and forget about it, and just know that if the contacts fall into those specific segments, they'll be handled utilising the journey that you've set up before. Okay, so coming back into my demo, sorry, the last piece of the demo that I'd like to be able to show is the connected student experience. So as I said, I want to leave time for questions at the end, so we'll not spend that much time on this, but connected student experience. So we've talked about finding the prospect, getting them in to become an applicant, to become an existing student. And now I want to talk about how we can utilise our product for existing students, not just new students. So we've got a new persona here. This is an existing student, and this is Abhi Sharma. He's an undergrad studying physics. He's in his second year. He's just finished his exams, and he wants to go on to be able to do a postgrad doctorate. But unfortunately, his dad has fallen ill back in India, and he's going to need to take a leave of absence from his studies. And he's really worried about how that's going to impact him finishing his studies and being able to go on and do his postgrad. But he knows that the university has a leave of absence process that he can follow and he can apply for. And rather than just, I guess, worrying about it, and it may be of detriment to himself, he wants to work with the university to be able to understand the support that he can get and to leverage the processes that are in place. So if you remember back to the service requests in the portal that we looked at the start, we're going to look at an element of branching on that, and this is for our processes that have a bit more behind them. So Yang's service request was just a ask a question, get a response, whereas what we're talking about here with Abhi Sharma is a prescribed process, and it has a policy and it has a decision tree and things like that. We're going to leverage similar technology so that your users are adopting one product and they know how to use it. But what we're going to see with the leave of absence request is that it just goes a little step further, and it has, I guess, more checks and balances in place. I can see questions coming in there, and I'm probably up on time. I'm going to show you super quickly. I'm going to take maybe 1 minute just to show you. With student services application, I've got a separate piece here for the leave of absence, and again, this could be an existing form, this could be an existing portal or a new portal. Leave of absence request has come in. You can see that we've got our similar business process flow along the top with our genericized but relevant stages to be able to process the leave of absence. Got some date fields similar to what we've seen before, but it's just a way to give the students a consistent experience for the entry point, and then a different processing on the back end, and we can get all of the rich analytics and all of the rich reporting out the back end. So I think I think maybe look to Steph. I'm probably good on time there if you want me to stop now, Steph, to allow for questions, because I can see one's come in from Una there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Christina. And thank you everyone for your time and attention. I think Brian's just actually, maybe you just want to jump in, Brian, and answer in his question on Microsoft licensing.
Yeah. In terms of licensing requirements, I guess the answer, as everything is, it depends. But I suppose the core solution is designed to be compatible with Power Apps user, or Power Apps, either Power Apps per app or Power Apps user licensing. Now there are elements of this that that Christina has demonstrated today that are part of Dynamics 365 Customer Insights. Yeah, it depends on the specific piece of functionality that you want, but I suppose the likes of Customer Insights is obviously a more expensive license, but not a license that you necessarily need to get for everyone in the institution or in the organization. So yeah, depending on the modules that you need, we can look at a cost, the most cost effective way of licensing that based on, you know, either the volumes of people that you need to interact with, or the number of users that need to use the app itself.
Super, thank you, Brian. Any more questions from anyone else on the call? No. Well, look, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate you take the time out of your morning. If you want to reach out to me, we'll send up a follow-up email if anyone would like some further information on Educ8 or any of our other service offerings, or indeed would like a more personalized demo. There's a lot more that we can show you with more time in which we can tailor to your specific needs within your own university. We would be absolutely delighted to do that for you. So please reach out. But yeah, we'll draw the call to a close if there's no more questions. And thank you once again for joining. Thank you, everyone.